let's talk about sender reputation. First of all, what is sender reputation and why is it important? Sender reputation is effectively what the receiving inboxes are perceiving you as an email sender, how good they're perceiving you as an email sender, rather. So that's a bit nebulous, but when it comes down to it, there's not a cut and dry score of, hey, your sender reputation is 94%, but rather a relative scale to identify, hey, do you have high reputation? Do you have medium reputation, or do you have low reputation? And when you have high sender reputation, that is important because when you do have high reputation, then when you send your emails, you're much more likely to be accepted by the inboxes and thus let your email messages through. On the contrary, if you have low sender reputation, when you send your emails, regardless of even the content of your emails, right out of the gate, you have a lower chance of actually getting through the initial filters, and the receiving inboxes will just, kick your mail to spam or reject your mail outright. The term sender reputation sort of captures this phenomenon of how good you are as a sender and how good you're perceived to be. And what we want to work towards is having high sender reputation, obviously, because that gives you the best chance of inboxing. But then how does sender reputation actually work? Like, what are they actually looking at? Well, we can basically break down sender reputation to two parts, which is your sending IP reputation and your sending domain reputation. Now, it can get more complex, and there's some more the nuances within there, but let's look at these two major categories first. When you send your email, you will always have an IP address that you're sending your email from. Whether if you're using a third-party platform, they'll assign your IP address, or if you perhaps already have a dedicated IP address set up, then it will just be your dedicated IP address. And also you'll have a sending domain, which lives in a couple of places, one in the friendly from address, two in the return path address, and three under your DKIM domain definition. So all of that means that when you send a mail, you have a domain layer of reputation, and then you have an IP layer of reputation. Now, back in the day, IP level reputation used to be a lot more important, and domain level reputation was secondary. Nowadays, it's IP is still important, but domain reputation has gotten more and more important as the years go by. And the idea is, whereas back in the day, it's very hard, or more difficult rather, to switch up your IP addresses, nowadays it is fairly trivial to start sending from different IP addresses. And to shift your domain is a lot harder because there's business brand recognition and such associated with the domain, and you probably have your website on the domain and everything. So domain reputation is increasingly getting more important. With sender reputation, then, we want to look at those two layers, and we want to be able to evaluate those layers and make sure that you both have a high reputation on the sending IP address level, as well as a high reputation on the domain level as well. In future videos, we'll go into exactly all those factors that sort of influence both those layers of reputation, which will consist of things such as blacklists, consists of things like positive and negative user engagement, some of the content filters or your content that you send, whether or not they're in alignment with the filters, and many other aspects of deliverability overall that are impacting your sender reputation. Also, there are plenty of tools out there to measure both of these reputation scores, but at the end of the day, there's not a hard and dry score that you'll generally get assigned. Various different tools and evaluative mechanisms will give you different outputs of the scores, but many times it's not just a one and all be all. So like Google Postmasters typically tells you low, medium, high on the reputation scale. You can use something like senderscore.org, which will give you a per 0 to 100 measure, or I guess technically 0 to 99 measure of your IP reputation score. So usually it's good to utilize multiple sources to be able to piece together the overall picture of your IP level reputation and your domain level reputation. And once you have that picture and understand that you have high levels of both, then that's a very good starting point in order to make sure that your emails they have the best chance of being delivered to the inbox.